Okay, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone is having a good day. We are extremely sad to not be there in person with you all this year like we normally are, but a huge thank you to Candy and Brad and everyone else at Epilepsy Awareness Day for organizing this, making this happen, making sure that we can all at least meet virtually this year. We are love attending this event every year. This is our favorite thing. We look forward to it every single year. So it's a huge bummer that we're not there with you in person, but we are glad that we at least have some way to connect and talk and hopefully answer questions as well. So I'm going to share my screen. And we are going to play this video for you. It's just going to be some training videos. But we are also going to be answering any questions. So if you guys want to type in any questions into the chat box, I also have Spencer here who's going to be helping me with that. And we will answer whatever we can, any live questions that you guys may have. Until then, we're going to turn the sound on so you can hear the music to these videos, because a lot of them are training videos that are going to be explaining how we do certain things. Just a reminder, everyone, if anyone is just jumping on, these videos are going to show our New Hampshire facility as well as some of our training techniques, how we work with our dogs, some training demos. But if you have any questions that you would like me to talk about live, just send them right into the chat box.
Wow. Okay. Well, you have to clean it. Wow. It's a prayer. Yeah, good luck. Nice. No.
Okay, so our first question is, could I get a golden retriever if I have seizures? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We train primarily English cream golden retrievers as well as Labrador retrievers. We also train some poodle and doodle mixes for people that have dog allergies but still need a service dog. When you are applying for a service dog, you are allowed to request what kind of dog you would like. And so if you are set on having a golden retriever, that is 100% something that you can choose. We always say that if you are making specifications as to which kind of dog you want, it could lengthen your wait time. but we are 100% open to you choosing the exact kind of dog you want. And that is no issue at all. A lot of the dogs you will see in these videos right now are our Labradors that we train, but you will see a lot of English Cream Goldens as well. So for anyone just joining in, we are Little Angels Service Dogs. We're a 501c3 organization. We are ADI accredited, and we are located in New Hampshire and San Diego. We have 2 branches that our recipients can go to. The videos you're watching now are from our grand opening at our New Hampshire ranch. That has been open since March of 2019. This event was in August 2019. We had an incredible turnout, and we absolutely love seeing everyone there. We train service dogs, obviously, for seizure alert and seizure response, but we also train service dogs for many, many other disabilities. Our kind of broad areas are seizures, mobility, autism, psychiatric, hearing, and diabetes. And we also cross-train so that if you need a dog to alert to seizures and also help with some mobility conditions, that is totally fine as well. I'm going to turn the sound back on until we have another question.
No, you're going. No, where are you going? Right.
So just another quick notice, all of the content that you are seeing right now, this is all of our New Hampshire property. We have 35 acres. Our trainers live on site, and we are right on the river. We have about 1,500 feet on the Saco River, which you can see our dogs more than take advantage of.
Wow. In New Hampshire, Georgia. Data coming.
So the next video coming up is a demonstration of how we teach our dogs heel. It's showing what puppies will often look like in the beginning, and then shows how we start to work through that. So in the beginning here, I am kind of just letting the dog do whatever she wants to. And then you'll see very soon that I am actually going to start working on heel and helping her realize that she needs to be walking right next to me. She needs to be calm on the leash. She needs to stay right on my left side the entire time. And so this is a lot of the training that goes on behind the scenes that is allowing us to ensure the dogs are going to act exactly how they should in public, that they're going to respond to our recipients, and that they are not going to become more of a hindrance than they are a help. So you will see that a lot of the training is done with treats. We really firmly believe that our dogs should love training. We want them to enjoy everything that they're doing. The more fun that our dogs have, the more excited they're going to be to help our disabled recipients. So this dog, this is a German Shepherd that we use just for training purposes. They're not normally in our program. But you can see that in this video, Nika is all about the treats, and that's the best way to keep her attention on us. So in this video, she was 4 months just learning how to heel. And we will turn the sound back on now. No, sit. Watch me. Good girl. Yo. No. Good girl. Nika. So due to some Wi-Fi issues that we are having out here in New Hampshire, we are having extreme winds and some snow right now. It's really hard for us to do any live demos for you guys. So instead, we are showing you some of our videos that we actually had to put together this year to do virtual training with both our recipients and fosters. So any of the videos that you're watching right now actually were created for real handler trainings that were done virtually, helping our fosters who have been incredible through the coronavirus, still taking our dogs, still working with them, making sure that we get everything that our dogs need. So when you see these videos, these are real tools that we created for training. So you can see how just a couple minutes of working with Nika, she very quickly realized that when I stop, she stops. If she stays right by my side, she gets lots of love and treats. And you can see that change click with her very quickly from where she started in the beginning of the video. You'll also see right about now that she is a 4-month-old puppy and her attention span is not very long. This is right about when she's going to lose it in training and we need to take a break and just do something fun so that she doesn't have to think very hard. Puppies do have very short attention spans, and so it's important to have really short bursts of training sessions frequently throughout the day. And then in between training sessions, we do lots of fun playing fetch, letting them run. And so as you can see, Nika is right about at that point here. Yes, good job. Good heel. That's a good girl. You can heel. No. 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 Yep. Yes, good job. You can heel. Good girl. You can heel. Good job. Good girl. Okay. Yep. Come on, Papa. Watch me. Good girl. One of the most important things with training dogs is their tone. And so you'll notice when you're listening to these videos how high my tone gets and how excited I get. That's one of the easiest ways to get dogs motivated to listen to you is how you talk to them, how you communicate with them. If I had a very low and boring tone and never had any influxes, the dogs wouldn't be as inclined to pay attention and figure out what I want. That's a good job. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, you can take a break. Take a break. Good girl. Good girl. Good job. Hey guys, how's it going? This next video is actually going to show our ranch in the middle of winter. So our dogs had quite a shock moving from San Diego to New Hampshire, but they did have a lot of fun as well.
The camera fly. No. Breathing and
Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about introducing your service dog to any pets in the house if you have them. This is going to be applicable for both cats and dogs. I'm going to cover the cats first because it's a little simpler, then we're going to talk about introducing to dogs. So the important thing to remember is that with any dog, with any animal really, no matter how friendly both sides are, bringing one animal into another's territory can be a stressful event. So we want to make sure that we do this in a really calm and neutral way so that the animals start their new friendly relationship off in a positive way. So with cats, cats are obviously very jumpy. We don't know exactly how they're going to react to dogs. When bringing a new dog into your house, it's a good idea to crate the dog in a central location, usually somewhere like a living room, and just let the cats come up and explore the dog on their own terms. We like to do this. We get to see how the dog's going to react to the cats, how the cats are reacting to the dogs. And this gives the cats a while to acclimate to the dog being in their space while knowing that the dog can't try to play tag with them. So once we've seen that this is going well, then it's time to introduce your dog on leash. I usually like to keep the dog in a down stay at my feet, nearly off, down. Guys, at this time, we would like to take a break and see if anyone has any questions. We're going to get back to the videos soon, but we do want to answer any questions that anyone may have right now. If you can't use the chat, you can unmute right now and ask them. Feel free. Okay. So if no one has any questions right now, then we will go back to the videos. Okay, let me just share my screen. Sorry about that.
Everyone has their own idea of paradise. For some people, it's a warm sandy shore and cool breezes under a palm tree. But Elena and I, we're going to show you our idea of paradise. It's the puppy play yard. We've got Labradors in their pool on a warm
Georgia.
We have all our English cream golden retriever babies. Having fun. Mama just left them. They've graduated. And then we have our brand new litter of golden doodles. Come on out, guys. Check out the water. Paradise around here.
It's puppy paradise.
The following videos are the ones that we created for our recipients and our Angel Retriever recipients for learning how to work with their dog during COVID. So this is as close as we can get to a live demo right now.
Reinforce it, even if they have a dog that's very advanced, and we've taught the dog to do this a year ago. So to start off, we're going to have that treat, and we're going to make sure that it is soft and pliable and about the size of a pea or about the size of a pencil eraser. We do not want crumbly treats that they have to chew up and little pieces are falling on the floor and then the dog's picking up all of the crumbs. We want them really focused on us and ready to move on to the next task or command. When we start off, we are going to put the treat by the dog's nose and say the dog's name. This is teaching the dog to understand that their name is a positive, but also that we have something for them. So in the end, does your dog understand that their name is their identity? Probably not, but they are learning that you have something for them. And so when they hear Fifi, the dog's gonna pay attention to you because usually you would have something for them when you said their name. So you're gonna start off with the treat right next to the dog's nose, and they're going to be in a standing position. You're gonna say Fifi with the treat by the dog's nose, and then you're going to lure the dog's nose up and back. And this is going to make it just easier for the dog to remain eye contact if they fall into a sit position. If they don't naturally fall into that sit position, you can put your hands just right above their tail or even behind their legs and put a little pressure there to encourage their rear end to go down. And once they are in the sit position, give them a treat. When you do put the treat in their mouth, make sure you're saying good dog. You could also say good boy or good girl. When you're saying that and giving them the treat at the same time, this is also another form of classical or Pavlovian conditioning. So what we're doing is we're having the dog associate good dog with the positive, with the treat. And this is going to allow us to move away from using the treat so much in the future. We could say good dog and you'll see the dog's tail start to wag and they get really happy because they know what they did was good. It's helping us mark the behavior, but it's all because of how we started in training them to associate that command or that vocal cue is, or just the vocal stimulus of it really, is that it's related to the positive of receiving that treat. You might have trouble with the dog trying to jump up into the air to get the treat. If that's the case, I would recommend that you step on the leash so that if they did jump into the air, it stops them and they learn pretty quickly that's not what we're asking. What we're asking is for their rear end to hit the ground, and then we're gonna give them a treat for that. Later, once the dog understands the luring, you could just have the treat in your hand and just say Fifi, sit, and put your hands straight up in the air. The dog will understand what you mean at that point. They'll follow through, and then you'll give them the treat and say, good dog. For down, we're gonna start off with the dog in the sit position, and we're still gonna have our treat. We're gonna put the treat by the dog's nose and say their name, and then we're going to lure their nose down toward the ground. It is always a little bit easier if you keep that treat closer to their chest instead of going way out in front of them. If you go way out in front of them, oftentimes they will stand up to follow it or try to crawl forward to follow it. If you keep it close to their chest, it's easier for them to put their muzzle down and have their jaw real close to their chest, and they fall more naturally into that down position. And once their elbows are flat on the ground, the rest of them is flat on the ground in a proper down, you're gonna say good dog, and you're going to give them the treat. As time goes on, you move that treat in your hand so that you're not always going all the way to the ground. Now you're more like doing a swinging motion where your hands higher up, higher up, higher up, and tall in the end. You are standing with back straight and you barely move your hand in a dip at all while you say down, and the dog understands what you're asking for and they lie down, and then you give them a treat and make sure you say good dog. Once we have a dog that understands sit and down, and they've been doing this for many, many sessions, maybe they've been doing it for a few weeks, you know they know this. You can start to wean them off of the treats. And you could even let them see that you don't have a treat in your hands and give them one of those cues. Give them the sit command or give them the down command. And if they don't follow through with it, just give their leash a little tiny pop and say, no, and then repeat the command. So for sit, I might say, Fifi, sit, no, sit, and then I would give the dog a treat. Now, I don't have to give a dog the treat every time because I started off by training the dog to associate my words as a positive. So I could also pet the dog, or I could just say good dog at that point. But make sure that you're consistent. If you tell your dog to sit and it doesn't, make sure you follow it up with your no. And your correction, your trainer will be working with you to tell you exactly how strong of a correction to give. It might be very, very gentle, but we always want to make sure that it starts off soft and it gradually builds until the dog responds, but before it ever gets uncomfortable. We would never want to just jump up to a level that is painful or frightening to the dog. Then the dog is not learning anything. So we have to be so careful about that. We really want the dogs to enjoy these interactive sessions with us. We want the dog trying to discover what it is we're asking them to do and just enjoying the engagement that we have with them. Having a dog that can sit and down reliably is going to make everyone's life so much easier. When I have the dog sit or down, it does not mean that I want their rear end to touch the ground and immediately pop back up again. I want them to stay in that seated position or the down position until I tell them to do something else, or if I start to move away from them. If I move away from the dog and the dog starts to follow me, that's okay. If I wanted the dog to stay there while I left, I would give the stay command. And that is going to be in my next video.
Oh, so cute.
Okay, guys, at this time, I want to see if anyone has any questions. If you do, either type it in the chat or unmute and you can ask us now. We will ask that if you are not talking or not asking a question, that you mute your camera. All right, if no one has any questions, then I think we will jump back into the training videos.
Just as I promised, my next video is stay. Now, just as a recap really quick, if we had the dog sit or down, they have to stay in that position until I move away. And then they could follow me because my body language essentially says, even just backing up a little bit, my body language is saying, come with me. But if I needed the dog to stay there, I need to teach them what that means. And I need to teach them that they have to stay there for as long as I tell them to. So I often start teaching a stay while the dog is in a sit. And so first of all, of course, I'll tell the dog to sit, and then I'm going to say stay, just like that. So I'm putting my palm straight out, and I literally lean backward and then come back in. And I give the dog a treat, and I say, good dog. Now, if the dog moved at all while I'm leaning away, I just give a little tiny pop at the exact moment that they started moving, and I put them back into the same position. I do not give them a treat for going back into the same position again, because then I would start to have a dog that tries to play me and will get up over and over again, so I give them a treat over and over and over again. They're very smart. Let's give them some credit for that. So I'm going to have the dog sit. I'm going to take just a little lean back, come back and give the dog a treat. And then I'm going to take a whole step back. And then the next time it's going to be 2 steps back. Then I'm going to start moving around the dog side to side. So I'm taking steps to the side. Then I'm going to start walking in a U shape around the dog, a horseshoe. Then I might walk all the way around the dog in a circle. You might not get that far in a single session. It depends on your dog and how focused they are. Remember, we're trying to keep their stress levels down and keep them motivated. So keep those treats coming. Don't be too stern with your corrections. We want them to enjoy this interaction. As soon as you go too hard on a dog, they are not learning a single thing and you are really just wasting your time and it's not nice to the dog. We need to make sure that we're being humane. I want to make sure whenever I am backing away from the dog that my leash is held in such a way that I could correct the dog very, very quickly and that I don't have a whole lot of leash just like hanging there or lying on the ground. The timing of this is really, really important. The dog has to understand the exact moment that they've started doing the wrong thing. And that's the fastest way to teach a stay. And we can also do this with a down. And you would still correct the dog as soon as they got up from the down if you told them to stay. But we do everything else just the same as we would with that sit. When I'm teaching stay, I also like to teach come. And when I'm having the dog come to me, I usually will have them in a stay already. And I'll have my treat out and I will clap my hands and I'll say their name and I'll say come. So I say, Beefy, come. And when the dog comes to me, I'm going to have them sit right in front of my legs and I'm going to give them a treat. When I have a dog come to me, I do not let them come and stand there. I always make sure that they sit because I don't want a touch and go situation where the dog thinks that they can run my direction but then keep on going. And I also will make sure that I have a treat for that dog every single time I call it. One way to set myself up for success is to have little candy dishes spread out throughout my home that has treats in it, just waiting for a time when I might call my dog. And it keeps me consistent. I would be really easily tempted to call a dog and not give it a treat if the treat weren't readily accessible. And then what I'm doing is inadvertently training my dog to ignore me. When a dog hears their name and the come command, we want them to stop doing anything else that they're doing and come running. We want it to be setting off a trigger in that dog's mind to stop playing, to stop chasing the squirrel, whatever it is, stop and run to the handler. And that's really a very important safety feature when it comes to training.
Okay, at this point, we just want to take another pause to see if anyone has any questions before we get to more of our training demo videos. If anyone has any questions at all that they would like to ask, feel free right now. If not, then we will turn our training videos, our demo videos back on for you guys to see. Just a quick notice that we're on the East Coast, so 3 o'clock our time, noon in the Pacific time zone. Domesta Pups is going to be taking over for an hour to do their presentation, which is super exciting. We will be back right after that. But if no one has any questions right now, I think we'll jump back onto our videos.
This video is about how to walk your dog. At Little Angels, we want to make sure that dogs are not pulling anybody anywhere, which means that we are training the dogs to heel. And this could be that you're receiving a dog that doesn't know how to do it at all yet, and you are going to be working with the dog on how to heel. Even if you have a dog that's really advanced, they're still probably going to test you at some point, so you're going to need to reinforce it. Just because you're getting a dog that's really well trained and has had maybe a year or 2 or 3 years of advanced training doesn't mean that you will have a dog that responds 100% of the time. Even with a dog that is done with training as a service dog, it's responding to the first time we ask a command 95% of the time. And the other 5% of the time, you still need to reinforce it to make sure that they're going to do it the next time. When I start working with the dog in heel, I am going to use a treat as I'm walking, and I let the dog see that I have the treat. And when I come to a stop, I tell the dog to sit, and I take that treat and I put it by their nose and I lure it up into the air so that it is more comfortable for the dog to sit than to remain standing. And I will walk forward just a few steps at a time so that the dog learns through all of this repetition of stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, that I am about to stop. And they want the treat, so they are choosing to stay with me. And I'm going to have my hand at the same level, which is pretty much right in front of my knees. So they know that if they went ahead of me, they're not going to even be able to get that treat because they're too far ahead. So they're choosing to stay back there, basically having their shoulder next to my hip or next to my knees. And something else that I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the leash so that they cannot go forward. Now, again, this is in the very beginning stages, and so this could be with an adult dog that I'm getting from a shelter or an adult dog that we've rescued or maybe has been donated to our program, but it's also what we're doing with very young puppies who are just learning how to be on a leash. And when I'm doing that, it could be on a flat collar. But other than that, I'm going to be using it like a training collar, like I said earlier, a martingale or a chain collar or a head halter. Notice I am not calling the chain collar a choke chain. It is going to be very bad if any of us use that as a choking device. That is not what it's for. We have to be really careful with the tools that we use to make sure that we're not going to hurt the dog. Occasionally, we would also use a prong collar depending on the dog, but again, it's dependent on the dog. For a lot of dogs, if we used a prong collar, it would be too severe and it would make them fearful because it would hurt them. But a lot of the dogs that we're working with, they don't feel a whole lot. And it's because they're bred to not feel a whole lot. As an example, Labradors are bred to be able to stand frigid cold waters and to be able to run through sticks and bramble and be okay retrieving that bird in 20-degree weather. So some of them just really don't feel anything. But we're going to be very, very intentional about what type of training tools we use for different dogs. It is not a one-size-fits-all in any case when it comes to dog training. And your trainer will go over that with you based on the personality and propensities of your dog, the sensitivity levels that your dog has, and a pain threshold. Again, if they're really sensitive, we might be using something like a martingale, which is very, very gentle, or maybe a head halter. When your dog is doing well just being on the leash and they understand that staying by your side is going to get them a treat, we can start using a training collar. And if they leave our side, we're just going to give a little pop on the leash, and the trainer is going to work with you on that to tell you how hard of a pop it needs to be. It might just be a flick of your wrist, might be something quite a bit stronger, but it's just going to, again, depend on the dog. And we never want to do anything that's going to scare the dog or hurt the dog. As soon as there's too much stress caused to a dog in a training session, they stop learning. And that is totally contradictory to our purpose. We really want the dogs to enjoy this interaction with us. We want them looking to us for what we're trying to communicate. We want the dog to enjoy learning. And that is really going to set the dog up for a great relationship with its handler and be able to assist if it's going to be a service dog. So it's really, really important that we are not hurting the dog. We have to be very, very intentional about any type of pressure that we put on the dog, any type of correction that's there. We have to be careful that it's not going over the top of what the dog needs. Now, if you're correcting your dog at a very low level for heel, let's say that you have a dog that understands heel very well and it's very advanced, and they're just pushing through it, and you're just like doing these little tiny tugs, and the dog does not care, you're going to go up a little bit more. And you're going to get a little bit harder, but you're never going to go to a point where the dog is actually fearful or actually in pain. And again, the trainer is going to work you through that. It's really, really important that we are careful with the dogs. So when we have the dog on a training collar, we are going to make frequent stops, and it's the dog's job to stay with us. And we want their shoulder blades even with our hip. And if the dog goes too far ahead, they're going to get a little pop on the leash and to teach them that they need to stay at our side. And we also want to make a lot of about turns. We want to make a lot of turns going into them. So left turns, we're making right turns, and we're going to be slowing down and speeding up. Now, if I was going at a fast pace and I was walking in a straight line, that becomes too easy for the dog. They want to go fast, and whatever I'm headed toward, that's where they think we're going, and that becomes their goal. So their goal becomes to get to the end or to the object that's up ahead, the location that's up ahead, instead of the goal being to focus on you and always be watching to see where you're going and what instruction you're going to be giving them. So if your dog ever starts to forge ahead, something else you can do is to start giving the dog more pace changes, making more right and left turns. And if they don't stay with you, just give a little pop on the leash based on the level that your trainer gives you to teach the dog to stay with you. The leash being taught in the beginning is only for a dog that is just learning how to be on a leash and to stay with you. And it's to keep the dog from going too far up ahead so that they stay back by your side. They're getting adjusted to that leash pressure, and also they get to see that you do have that treat in your hand. It is not something that we continue doing. We don't want to continue leash pressure when they're older or they're more advanced. We do not use the leash as a way to keep the dog with us by physically restraining them. It is a training tool. So most of the time it's going to be loose and comfortable on the dog's neck, and we're just going to give a really very brief tug when they move to a location that they shouldn't be. So basically, if I put the chain collar on the dog, let's say that my hand is the dog right now, and I put it on like this, it's going to be loose and comfortable unless I pull on it. And when I pull on it, I only want to pull on it for just a split second. If I put it on the other way, see, now it's in the shape of a Q for you. If I put it on this way, it's going to stay tight. Puppies don't like it to be tight, do you? So again, when we put it on the dog, we want it to go on in the shape of a P, just like this. And that way, if I'm not pulling on it, she's really comfortable. And the level of my correction is going to depend on the dog, and your trainer will talk to you about that. So training a dog in heel is one of the most important tasks we can ever train a dog to do, because if you can't take your dog on a walk, you really can't do anything with them. You can't exercise them. They become too rambunctious. And this is all just if it's a pet. Now, if it's a service dog, obviously it has to do a really great job. It's staying right with you. You're going to be taking it out into public, and it needs to be really focused and at your side. It can't be darting after pigeons. It can't be running over to say hi to other dogs or other people. Just make sure that you keep the dog right next to you in the heel position, and life is going to be easier for you and the dog.
Okay, hello everyone. We are back. We did have one question while we were watching that video. How does a dog know when a seizure is coming? Now, just so everyone knows, we do have a presentation coming up after Domestipups that talks all about how dogs can sense seizures, how they smell them, and how they alert us to them coming on. But the short version of that is that dogs are able to smell most seizures that are coming on. Our bodies often give off a pheromone scent that we can train the dogs to pick up on, and very often the dogs actually sense it on their own without any training, and we call this a natural alert. When the dog is naturally letting us know that something is happening. We see this with seizures, we see this with people with diabetes, people with a psychiatric condition, whether it's PTSD, anxiety, or depression. Very often the dogs will act anxious. They may be pacing a lot. They may just stare directly at you. They may be whining. They may be drooling. Very often this is a sign that the dogs know that something is happening. And we can then take that and teach them to alert to it in a more direct way that is easier for us to pick up on. Very often that is with us teaching the dogs to put a paw on our legs. So from what we have been able to find, the body often gives off a pheromone scent ahead of a seizure. And with some research studies that have been going on, we've actually been working with UCLA to do a lot more research in this area. We found that we believe this scent is coming from the lungs. And so this is the scent the dogs are picking up on, and this is the scent that we have our recipients send us so that we can teach the dogs ahead of time how to start learning when a seizure is coming and how to let their person know that it's going to happen. So usually if someone has an aura and they can tell ahead of time, if not, then right after the seizure, we have our recipients swipe the inside of their mouth with gauze and then breathe very heavily on it. They put it in a Ziploc bag, send it to us, and we use that scent to teach our dogs when a seizure is coming. We have the scent out, and we teach our dogs whenever they smell this scent, they need to put a paw on our legs. And so that is kind of the short version of how we are able to do that, how we collect that scent. There is a lot more that goes into it. There's a lot of science as well. When we are looking at if dogs are going to be able to alert to your seizures, it very often involves looking in EEG. We look at what the EEGs are doing leading up to a seizure. If there's drastic spikes in activity, then that also tends to correlate to a very strong scent being produced, which is what we can collect and have the dogs alert to. So we want to thank everyone for this live session. We did have a couple of questions, which was great. We are going to be passing this off to Domestipups in just a couple minutes. We are going to put one more video on for a couple more minutes while Domestipups gets ready to come on. We will be having another live session later on in the day if anyone comes up with more questions that they would like to ask. During our presentations, you are always more than welcome to put questions in the chats, and we will always answer them to the best of our ability. Joe, are you able to present? I think you're muted right now, Joe. If you guys are ready, we can pass it off now. If not, we can watch another training video.
We have about 5 minutes. I need Mary and Michelle.
Okay, sounds good. We will put on another training video for everyone while Domestipups gets ready.
Thanks, guys.
Brady doesn't like it.